Noah Hoffman's with us. She's political correspondent at The Sun. Noah, very good morning to you.
Morning.
Great to get the Prime Minister's view on this. He had a press conference yesterday at which he sort of more or less tried to say that the reason we couldn't call this guy a terrorist in the Southport case was because the legality and the legal kind of description of terrorism needs to be changed. So presumably he's going to do that.
Yeah, and I think this is one of the first times that we've really heard the Prime Minister launch a sort of fierce criticism at the state of the law and pledge to really change it when it comes to this issue. However, his announcement today about, this first big step that he's going to take to crack down on the so-called lone wolves and misfits, perhaps for his critics, is just not far enough and doesn't really go to the root of the issue. And they'd be looking more towards a change in the definition of terrorism rather than steps such as introducing two-tier verification system for buying knives online. So
Right.
he is definitely, he's not running away from this issue, but there's a lot of different areas to be tackled. And the one you mentioned about changing the law is probably first and foremost in a lot of people's minds.
Yes, because, I mean, the front page, which says the Amazon killer, suggests that, basically he bought a knife in seconds, this guy, Axel Rudicabana, aged just 17, when he shouldn't have been able to buy it. And somebody's pointing out on Twitter here for me that says any Amazon delivery, such as a knife or alcohol, has to be signed for by a person over the age of 18 showing proof of ID. My question would be, who signed for the knife? It's kind of a red herring in a way, though, isn't it? Because, I mean, we also know from stories that we've all covered about knife crime in this country that most knife crime is carried out by people using just a kitchen knife that they've taken out of their mum's drawer, and they haven't necessarily gone to the trouble of ordering, a zombie knife or some kind of horrible blade on the internet.
Yeah, and not just that, but if you're as, sort of psychotic as the Southport killer, you will find a way around whatever government-imposed verification system is there. If a kid desperately wants a knife, they're going to find it. If they want drugs, they're going to find it. If they want to access pornography, they're going to do it. So the government can make a lot of noise about introducing a sort of tougher system. But if you're as sort of deranged as someone such as this character is, you're going to find a way anyhow. And so a lot of critics this morning are saying, look, this just isn't good enough.
But that's the problem, isn't it? Because, you tend to find that criminals don't really pay much attention to the law. It's a bit like saying, on the front page of the Telegraph today, I don't want to change the subject, but, they're going to go after benefit cheats and they're going to say you won't be able to drive your car. Well, really? I mean, frankly, if you're cheating the benefit system, you're not really going to care if somebody says you're not allowed to drive your car. You're going to drive it anyway, And the other thing that sort of arises from it, I suppose, from what happened in Downing Street yesterday, front page of the Eye today has got Labour makes new threats to tackle tech moguls over harmful content. I mean, do you wonder whether there's any I don't know, enmity going on between some of the tech moguls like Elon Musk and like Matt Zuckerberg and Keir Starmer and the Labour government?
I mean, it's very easy to sort of picture Elon Musk, reading an article like that and just laughing. And also, it's quite a bold goal to have with the advent of Donald Trump and seeing Silicon Valley literally turn in the other direction as he becomes president, with the likes of Mark Zuckerberg saying, we're now going to open up our restrictive free speech regulation. The Labour government seems to be going actually in the complete opposite direction, not only of the White House, but of the Silicon Valley moguls themselves. So I think it's quite a tall order, and it will be interesting to see where this goes, particularly given that we know Elon Musk is not Keir Starmer's #1 fan, it's safe to say.
No, I mean, he's been a bit busy this week, hasn't he? So he's been laying off Starmer a little bit, but I dare say he'll return to punishment on him. Just a quick one for you on Starmer and Trump, just because you're in the firmament there in the political department of The Sun. When does Keir Starmer, if he knows, expect to have a conversation with the new president?
So when Keir Starmer gets invited to Washington is the million-dollar question, and we have been pressing the Prime Minister's spokesperson on this very matter. We haven't had any details yet, but it will be rather embarrassing if you have leaders that, Trump is more aligned with, perhaps more right-wing, of smaller European states, and they get invited to Washington before Keir Starmer. His team to be fair, go to really, really strong lengths to sort of highlight their credentials with the president. They always reference this dinner that Keir Starmer and David Lammy had with Donald Trump last July, saying how jovial it was. The banter was fantastic. But we still don't yet know when that visit to Washington will take place. And when it does take place, will be a really interesting indication of how the administration views this Labour government, which is trying very, very desperately hard to impress them.
Yes, indeed. And Peter Mandelson's name keeps coming up as well this week. You know, is he in? Is he out? Will he get the job? Will he not get the job? David Miliband now apparently helpfully offering himself up as the sacrificial lamb. I'll do the job and I won't be troublesome. What do you think is going to happen there?
I do think Keir Starmer has a track record of really sort of sticking to his guns on these issues. In a similar way, to be fair, to the Tory government before him. They cling on for as long as possible until a situation becomes untenable. We saw that with Tulip Siddiq. You know, they defended her for weeks before she finally got laid off. The only sort of example of them quickly following the tide of opinion would be Louise Haigh, the former transport secretary. Yeah. She was culled pretty quickly, but she was also on a different sort of ideological wing to Keir Starmer. In terms of Peter Mandelson, they really are backing him. And I don't see that changing unless another sort of drastic event happens in the next few weeks, let's say.
No, good to talk to you. Thanks very much indeed. Noah Hoffman, political correspondent at The Sun there.